Hey everybody, today I want to talk about some of my favorite pens, and those are the Pilot Juices and the Pilot G2s. And I want to do a little comparison for you. The reason being is I feel like a lot of people either don't have the money to buy all the pens in the world or they don't want to. And so if you are thinking about, which set to buy or which is the better set, I'm going to give you the pros and cons, at least in my opinion, on both of those so you can make a good decision for yourself. I, of course, have both sets and I have them for different reasons, which I'll get into as I progress. Before I start with the actual comparison, though, I wanted to tell you a little bit about Pilot. These are both Pilot pens. And if anybody were to ask me if I have a favorite pen company or manufacturer, I'm definitely going to say Pilot, hands down, any day of the week. And with pens, there are really 4 different categories of pens. You've got ballpoints, gel pens, the felt tips or the marker type pens, and then fountain pens. Those really are the only 4 different types of categories. Then you have subcategories like a roller ball, which is technically a gel type of pen. So anyway, you're going to find great pen companies and great pens in each of those 4 different categories. However, Pilot, in my opinion, has fantastic pens in all 4 of those categories. I have never met a Pilot pen that I have not liked or actually loved. And so Pilot is going to definitely be my favorite of all the different pens that I have in general. And what I wanted to do today is with the Juices and the G2s. They're very similar pens. These are going to fall under the gel pen category. And of course, they're both made by the same company. So there are a lot of similarities, but there are some differences as well. So let me go ahead and just get started with some just general things to begin with. Let's do greens on these. Okay, so here is a Juice and here is a G2, and they both are the green color. And hopefully my camera is going to focus. Let's try this. Okay, that's better. So here we've got, and these are the 2 greens, and as you can see, the greens vary a little bit as far as the outside of it. We'll get to the writing sample in just a minute. But with the G2 and the Juices, they are exactly the same length. They're actually the same exact width as well. And you can expect that because they're both made by the same pen company. And the clicker, I don't know if there's a technical term for it, but the clicker is also the same. Goodness, where did my pen go? There we go. The clicker is also the same exact size. The grip, however, is going to be a little bit larger, as you can see on the Juice right here up at the top, which I actually like it better on the G2, where you can see clearly on the end right here the ink and the actual tip. But it is a little bit longer on that, and also the pen clip is going to be also a little bit longer on the Juice. So I do like on the G2 that more of the pen barrel and the ink is exposed. For me, I'm just a visual person, so I just like that better. The actual grips are a little bit different as well. Let me see if I can get that into focus here. I don't know if it's going to do that, but let's try it this way. So the G2 has ribbed grip on it. They're both rubber type of grip, and then on the Juice, I don't know if it's going to show up very well, but it's just got a whole bunch of little circles around it. So it's just a little bit different, but they both have the same purpose. I think they're both very comfortable to use. I like both pens. So that's just on the outside what they look like. The differences there. As far as accessibility or availability, I would say that the Juices are going to be a little bit harder to find. I have never found the Juices anywhere except for Jet Pens, which is an online pen company if you're unfamiliar with them. The G2s, from what I've found with my research, they are the #1 pen anywhere in the world. I think what I read is anywhere between something crazy like 50 to 60% of the entire pen market is G2. So they are super duper popular. A lot of times something will be popular just because it's a fad. I think in this case, though, the G2 is popular because it's an outstanding pen. It's just a great overall pen, and obviously the public has shown that it's just a very popular pen because it's such a good pen. So I think in this category, definitely the G2 is going to win that. It's just everywhere. I think I've even seen some at like a dollar store, but just your regular chain stores. And then, of course, your office supply stores are going to have those. My office supply stores, at least in my area, don't even carry the juices. So that's something to consider. Sam's Club has a fantastic pack. This is where I got my G2 pack. When I bought mine, and I've had both of these sets for several years now, I'm going to say mine was closer to the $20 range for 18 different pens, which is still a great price. But I think because they're even becoming more popular than they were before, the price has gone down. I think it's somewhere in the $12 to $14 range for 18 pens, which is fantastic. I think that's great. The color choices, the juices are going to win on this one. They have 24 different colors. The G2s, from what I have been able to come up with, only have 15 different colors. I mean, let's be honest, 15 is still a lot of colors. With my 18 pack that I got from Sam's Club, the extra 18, from 15 to 18, I got extra black pens is how they came up with that number. So you can just see the differences here. There are a lot more pinks with the juices. They do have a few more greens. And they also have a yellow, which I don't have. And I think those are just the main differences, at least with the colors. So if you're a pink person, you're definitely going to go with the juices, but I'm not. I ended up getting this pack because I wanted to try out all the colors. This was back, like I said, a few years ago when I really just was trying to figure out exactly what my favorite pens were. So I got every single color. You can order the juices separately, which I do like on jet pens. So if you know that you don't like certain colors, then you can just order them separately. You can also order the 24 pack. They also have a 36 pack with the juices, and really it's still the same 24 colors here, and then you get the 6 color metallic pack, which I have right here. I bought those separately. And then you can also get a pastel pack with the 36 pack, which I knew that I wouldn't ever use pastel pens. They just are way too light for me, so I didn't end up getting the 36 pack. And I did something really smart, which I have not always been very smart with this type of thing. But originally what I did, at least with the juices, they come in different sizes, both the G2s and the juices. The juices come in 0.38s, 0.5s, and 0.7s. The G2s come in 0.38s, 0.7s, and then 1.0, and I think they might even have a bolder one than that. So you can tell that they're similar, but a little bit different focus. The G2s are definitely going to be for if you have larger handwriting or if you want like a bolder line. So the juices cater to more smaller handwriting and just very fine writing. So what I did with the juices is I originally just bought a 0.38. Where did my little notebook go? I originally bought just a 0.38 and then a 0.5 because I wanted to, before I invested in the pack, I wanted to see which one I preferred. I generally prefer smaller pens, and so I really was thinking, well, I'm just going to get the 0.5, and I know I'm going to like the 0.38s better. Shockingly, however, I really like the 0.5s on the juices better. The 0.38s were a little bit scratchy, a little bit too scratchy for me, and so I ended up getting the 0.5 pack. And like I said, I ordered them separately because I didn't want the yellow and I didn't want black. I mean, how many black pens does a girl need? So those are the only 2 pens. So I ended up with 22 pens, and then I've got the metallic pack on that, and then just the 1.38 in the dark red on the juices. With the G2s, and you can get that same one in the 0.38s and the 0.7s on the juices as well. With the G2s, I've only seen the large pack like this in the 07s. With the G2s coming in a 0.38 pack, I've only seen them in the standard 4-color pack, which is unfortunate because I really do like the 0.38s. And then the 1.0s, again, I have not seen a larger pack on that one. You're just going to get probably just the same basic colors with the 1.0 if you want a bolder line. So that's the availability. As far as the price point, I would say the juices are more expensive overall. And then that's just really, I think, goes back to the supply and demand of the 07s. Because they're everywhere, they're just going to be a lot cheaper. And like I said, the price has even gone down on that bigger pack that I have found. So that's really great. So I'm just giving you the pros and cons so you can kind of make your own decisions here, like I said. But those are I think in general, the different things, I would say as far as like the clicker is concerned and how it actually is, I think this one, the juice for some reason is a little bit, I don't know what the word is. It's just not as strong. I would say the G2 has a better clicker on it. And also back to the pen clip, I didn't mention this, but I prefer the pen clip on the G2. I think it's just got a cooler design on it. And also I think the pen clip itself is actually a lot stronger. When you pull it up like this, it's not really moving. I'm sure somebody has broken one, but I've never broken one of my pen clips. With the juice, it has a spring clip like this, and I don't know, that spring mechanism for me just does not feel very sturdy, and I just would not be surprised if one of these broke off sooner than later. Also, if you're like I am, I put my pen and I kind of use it as a paper clip or a paper holder, and so I'll just like hook it onto my planner with paper underneath it, and I don't really feel comfortable doing that with a juice. I feel like this is not very, definitely is not very strong. I don't feel like it would hold the paper very well as much as the G2 would. So I would say in that area the G2 is definitely going to win as far as durability. And oops, let me go ahead and put this back in. And then as far as the colors, they both have, I would say, similar colors with the blues. Like I mentioned, that definitely more pinks with the juices, and they have 2 oranges with the juices where just one. The purple, you have 1 with the G2, and then you've got 2 with the juices. The greens, you have 3 on each of these, but they're different colors, which I'll show you in a minute. The blues, which is my preferred color of pen. If someone were to ask me my favorite color, I would probably have to go with a navy blue or a blue black. And I think that they're very similar. The juices have 1 more, well, actually, depends on how many you count. It either has 4 or 5, depending on how you look at that. It's got 2 browns on the juices versus 1 on the G2, and then of course the black. And then it's got a red and then a dark red, which kind of looks more of, it's like a brownish burgundy type of red. It doesn't really look red to me when I write it. It's more of kind of a purplish brownish color. Anyway, so those are just the color comparisons. The actual metallics are the exact same, which these aren't in the exact same order, but the colors are the exact same as far as you've got gold, silver, blue, green, purple, and pink, and they're exact same with the juices. They're just going to write a little bit more fine, obviously, because it's a finer tip. And I think that's it. So let me go ahead and show you now the writing samples of the different pens. And here they are. Hopefully that will focus. And so you can see with the juice over here, I tried to put them as much in order as I can, so from smallest to fattest. So here's your 0.38 dark red with your Pilot juice. As you can see, there's quite a bit of difference on those two. And then with the G2 over here, I have the 4.38s with the G2s, and I put them on the side because I didn't leave room in the middle. But you can see the difference. Obviously, the smaller the tip is going to be a very fine way of writing, and so obviously there's just not going to be as much ink, so it's not going to be as a darker line, so if you prefer that. And here's the different pinks. If you are a pink person, I would really just prefer the one, just one color of pink, but if I had to choose, I would probably just stick with the basic pink with the Pilot juice. The baby pink is a little bit more bordering on fluorescent for me, which I don't really like, and then the rose pink is a little bit too dark. When I'm doing something like a color coding system, I want my colors to stand out from each other. And I've noticed when you get into like a darker pink, it's just not as noticeable and doesn't stand out as much as if you have it next to a red. And then with the juice, with the oranges, the apricot orange is similar to the Coletto if you know about the refills. So the apricot orange is going to be a lighter orange than just the regular orange. And you can see right here the difference between those. The G2s with that 0.7 versus the 0.5 is just going to lay down a lot more ink, so it's going to be a lot more bold. The dark red on the Pilot juice is, I would say, I'm not a color and shade expert, but I would say that they are very similar, if not the same. They just call them a different color. So the juice calls it a dark red and the G2 calls it burgundy. The purples are definitely different. This grape on the juice is lighter than this purple, and then the violet is a little bit darker than the purple. The G2, the lime, is probably closest to the Pilot or the Juice leaf green. And then the apple green, I think this is pretty much a worthless pen. It's so light. I can't imagine, and this is white, just regular standard white notebook paper that I wrote on, and it's very difficult to see. So I think sometimes with those lighter pen colors, I just have found that I'm just not even bothering with that anymore. And that's one of the reasons I didn't buy the yellow, because yellow to me is a worthless color as far as writing is concerned. Definitely it's great for highlighting and for art and things like that, but for writing I don't think it's very good. So here's the differences between the greens. And then this is where it starts to get very interesting, because the G2 actually has this gorgeous hunter green that the Pilot Juice does not have. And when I'm looking for a pen, I am looking for pens that stand out, and so I do prefer the darker one on the G2. The turquoise, again, here's the interesting thing, which is right here, these two over here. The G2 has a turquoise and a teal, where the Juice only has a turquoise green. And then here are the Juices with the 5 light blues, or 5 blues that I told you about, where the G2s just have 3, but they're still really great colors. They've got a lighter blue, just a regular blue, and then a navy. The Juice calls it a blue black, and the G2 calls it a navy, which I think they're very similar. Same thing with over here. The G2 calls it periwinkle, and the Juice calls it an aqua blue. The Juice with the regular brown, it's kind of a lighter brown. The G2 calls it a caramel, and I definitely would say it's more of a caramel. I do love this coffee brown that the Juice has that the Pilot does not have. And then the G2 also does not have a gray, which I have to say gray has kind of been my color, at least for 2016. I've really been loving writing with gray, and I'm just leaning towards that. So unfortunately the G2 does not have that. So you can see the different color choices over here, where definitely the Juices have a lot more colors if that's what you're looking for, but the G2 is just a very great standard pen. Here down here, as what I was telling you, I didn't buy the Juice black, but here's the G2 black and then the .38 black. So those are the different colors right there. And then here are the metallics, and you can see they are exactly the same shade. The .5s obviously just don't put down as much ink, so it's not as bold, but I've mentioned that I'm using the .5s, the Juices, for my gratitude journal, which I really like. It's on my Hobonichi, so I need it to be a little bit smaller, and I prefer that with my smaller handwriting. As far as the 3/8 are concerned, which it's actually .38, I'm just trying to save a little time there, but the .38s, I actually prefer the G2s for some reason, and I don't know what it is, especially because it's made by the same manufacturer. The 3/8 on the G2s are a lot smoother and easier to write with than the 3/8 on the Juices. So I would say, if you want my opinion on this, considering all the different factors with the price point, the availability, things like that, I would definitely agree that the G2 is probably the best overall pen. However, with my uses and my handwriting, I do prefer the Juices just because I like that smaller tip. I would say in a perfect world, I would have the G2 design with all the different colors in the .38 tips. You know, I'm reaching out to the pen gods here, but as of right now, that's not available. The other thing to consider is refillability, which I have not been able to find the Juices to have the refills, even on jet pens. Hopefully they come out soon, or maybe I just haven't seen them. The G2s do have the refills on jet pens, which is fantastic. I'm kind of up in the air about refills. I definitely would want to refill every single pen and have that option, because I am aware of that kind of thing and I want to do the responsible kind of thing, but it also needs to make sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes the refills are as much or even more than the actual pen cost, and so that doesn't make any sense to me. I think the pen manufacturers need to make it worth our while. So the G2 refills, they are 2 for $2.20 on jet pens, at least currently. And I like that, because as far as getting these colors, you would have to buy this entire pack to get, if you run out of, say for instance, the hunter green or the navy, you have to buy the entire pack if you want the pen. However, you can go to jet pens for those specific refills. So I think in that circumstance it makes sense to do the refills, but really only if you're committed to one certain pen. So anyway, that is my synopsis on the Juices versus the G2s. I definitely think they are both fantastic pens. As you can see, I have both of them. I use both of them, but just for different purposes. And they are a great, great brand in the gel category. So anyway, I hope this has been helpful for you to make your own decision. And thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys again soon.